Welcome to the Wolf Connection podcast. I'm your host, John Calfa. Love to welcome back Leo Leckie to Wolf Connection and also to the podcast. I think it's literally been 3 years. You were one of like the first 10 episodes we did. I think you did 2 episodes in that early round.
Yeah.
But it's so great to have you back on site on the sanctuary.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to see you in person because we've seen you on Zoom so many times, but just to have you back with us in the pack, it's just so nice to have you here again.
Well, thanks. It's fantastic to be here. It's so wonderful to be back. I mean, I was working a program this morning and with a really, really great population that we're working with, transition age youth, and we're, providing the motivation they need to transition onward into, whatever trajectory and journey they might go on, and we're providing them that support. And I've been doing this virtually since, for the last 4.5 years.
I was going to say, yeah, it's
4.5 years of working remotely and doing our virtual and our online offerings as far as programs go. And today was the first day in 4.5 years that I got to actually be back on site working with the team, face to face and feeling the magic that happens at Wolf Connection with the programs that we do. So it's been spectacular so far.
And you bring such a beautiful spirit to this whole thing because of where you've come from. And we've talked at length prior about what you did back in Yellowstone. Now you're back there.
Yeah.
Which, is this a full circle moment for you? And I'll stay with the program for just a second because you really touch a lot of people in the way that you share those stories and share the stories about the wolves in the wild and how you can correlate that to the pack here at Wolf Connection. What are the feelings that come up for you when you're actually on site? And like you said, to be here for the first time in 4.5 years and to see these kids for the first, in person.
Right. So it's exactly what you said. It feels like a full circle moment, coming back from Yellowstone to Wolf Connection, and picking up, where I left off before with being able to share the stories of the wild wolves of Yellowstone. We were doing that in the program today.
Right.
We were walking down the creek trail, down Shades Trail, and walking, through the lush vegetation. The Aliso Creek is flowing right beside us. Everybody's enjoying it. And I'm talking about things like the genetic memory of dogs and why your dog licks your face and why your dog might move around on the couch a few times before it finally settles down, and that comes from a genetic memory from wolves that, they originated from.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so sharing those kind of stories again in person, and being a part of the natural setting that's here at the sanctuary is just, it totally feels full circle. It feels like transformationally, this is the place. Everything is kind of aligning. We talk a lot in Wolf Connection about sacred timing, and this the way that everything is unfolded and being here now feels totally like sacred timing.
Are you a celebrity with these kids? Because I feel like, because you know what I mean. You for us, you feel as you're like almost the Uncle Leo of the storyteller and the Mr. Rogers type, because you just have that just great presence. Are the kids just happy to see you in the flesh and to just have these things said to them while, because they can't carry you in your pocket when you're on Zoom, but to be on these trails with them and to be able to see these things in person, is it a different feeling for them? Have they spoken to that at all?
That was actually, it's interesting you would bring that up. That was actually just talked about by one of our participants in the program. He mentioned that seeing me remotely through Zoom, through the lens of Zoom, he always thought I was a little bit more of this professorial kind of person, and had this totally different, vision of me. And then we did an opening circle where we all shared, what brought us to this particular program on this particular day. I talked a little bit about that, and his immediate response was, this is refreshing. This is so nice to see you in this kind of setting compared to, what I had created in my mind thinking about you through Zoom and things like that. So it was moments like that that really, that really are impactful and meaningful as far as, the import of what we do in the programs. Yeah.
I mean, you bring, like I said, the special aspect that you bring. And I was just thinking about the other day when I knew you were going to be on site, that first day that we all met you when you came to the gate. And I think you had a red car at that time, right? And you were right,
I did.
right behind us. And we discussed this so many years ago. But the track for you, and you say sacred timing, full circle moment, you're not back in Yellowstone. And it feels as though when we've spoken offline and through text, and you've done such an amazing job, not only helping Stephen and I with these incredible guests, because you just have this way of, being this conduit so that people, connect to this place, connect to us on the podcast. But what's it for you to go back to a place that clearly resonates with you far beyond your time with us and where you started, and now it seems like you've picked right back up where you left off back in
Yeah.
Yellowstone.
Yeah. It has been nothing short of, it's been even more incredible than I thought it would be. Yellowstone has been my spiritual center and spiritual core, and being back now at this point is, boy, let's see if I can find, I don't know if I can find words for it. It's just, it's gone beyond what I expected it to be. As you know, somebody who loves this space, loves being around wolves and the spirit of wolves, but also being in a natural setting like we have here
Right.
at, the sanctuary. I lived in a number of different places before coming back to Yellowstone, and I missed what I was clearly missing something. And once I got back to Yellowstone, I got back in touch with exactly what I was missing, and that's that sense of being taught and learning from what nature, has to unfold before you. And it's I for example, the place I'm living right now is right on the edge of a wolf pack territory. They're
Which wolf
called
pack?
the 8 Mile Pack.
Oh, okay.
And they've been around. They actually are one of the few packs in Yellowstone National Park that actually started outside of the park and moved into the park back in 2010, the very year I first lived in Yellowstone. They moved into Yellowstone that year, kind of got into a conflict with the local pack, defeated the males, and then the males of this 8 Mile Pack joined the females of this pack that the males had been pushed out of, and reformed what became a new 8 Mile Pack within Yellowstone. And the females of this previous pack became three of the most famous female matriarchs of the northern Yellowstone range.
Really?
Yeah. Wolves 909F of the 8 Mile Pack, 821F of the Prospect Peak Pack, and then a third sister who was called Third Sister. She was a famous wolf. She didn't have that quote unquote alpha status, but she was definitely a leader and a very, very a wolf that was looked up to by other pack members and stuff, and in both packs would move back and forth from the 8 Mile Pack to the Prospect Peak Pack. And so I'm lucky enough to live right now about 100 yards from the park boundary, which is, would be considered the edge of their territory, and hear their howling very often, several times a week. And have seen, the results of successful hunts not far away from my
Really?
house. And so it's been pretty amazing. There's also this time of year, it's June. This is the time when mother elk give birth to their calves. So there's this element. If you were to ask employees of Yellowstone National Park what animal they're most afraid of, it's not going to be the grizzly bear. It's going to be a mother elk who has just given birth to calves because of how defensive and aggressive they can be taking care of those. So there's a lot of female elk in where I'm living, in my yard, basically, who've given birth to calves and have been pretty aggressive with the UPS driver whose life I saved from being trampled.
Really?
Bob Landis is my next door neighbor, famous
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
neighbor, famous cinematographer,
Yeah.
for Yellowstone Wolves and beyond, and basically yelled to Bob at the last second that helped him out from a charging elk. So
goodness.
I've got a lot of mama drama going on at Yellowstone National Park, or where I'm living on the doorstep of Yellowstone right now.
I mean, what
Yeah.
a place to be.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
a place to be, just to experience all those things. What other encounters have you seen just from that pack? That because of it, the fact that you've seen this elk, these female elk and these calves and this 8 Mile pack that now is just they're your neighbors along with Bob Landis. I mean, what are some other things that you've seen? I know. Did you go back into guiding or tours? Like what I thought I saw you going back and do a couple other things.
Yeah, so I'm still working as the manager's quote historian quote archivist for the Yellowstone Wolf family tree,
Right.
which is this family tree of Yellowstone wolves on ancestry.com, largest and most unique family tree within ancestry.com. We've got like something like 900 human guests and coming up to about 1,400 Yellowstone wolves on there. And this features their life stories, their genealogy / pedigree. We've got a lot of photographers who contribute their photographs of these wolves to our tree. So we've got beautiful, beautiful photos that accompany the life stories of these wolves. And so I'm still immersed in that, have rejoined with a guiding company called Yellowstone Wolf Tracker.
Yep.
And still I'm working with them. I had been a guide for them before coming to Wolf Connection. I haven't done any guiding formally, but have been very immersed in booking and things like that. So
That's
booking
cool.
for the company. And I'm back to working with Jim Halfpenny. He and I
Nice.
did a lot of work together. So moving back to this little hamlet at the north entrance of Yellowstone National Park, known as Gardner, Montana, and having the community step up the way it has and reacquainting myself with old friends has just felt like a very natural coming home.
You found your pack again.
Yeah,
That's really
I
what
found
it
my
seemed-
pack again.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
you took a little bit of a break. You went off and explored and did some different things.
Yeah.
Now you came back.
I like to think that I have 2 packs.
Yeah.
I've got the Wolf Connection pack and I've got the Yellowstone pack.
It's so great to hear that you could just hear it in your voice that you're where you're supposed to be at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
And I think we all feel that way. And again, it goes back to sacred timing about how we're all supposed to help in our own different ways. And then when we need the help or we need the guidance, we get it to where we have to go. I mean,
Exactly.
Again, to be, like you say, next door to Bob Landis and working again with Jim Halfpenny, two titans of, wolfdom and just all the things that they've done. And, have you spoken with anyone else over there or have any other experience? Have you talked to Doug Smith since he retired or anybody else up in Yellowstone yet?
I've talked to Doug a couple of times, consulted on a book that Doug is working on,
Nice.
and I've actually consulted on a couple books, and so very much immersed myself into wolfdom, as you were saying, at Yellowstone, and haven't talked to Doug a lot, but we've definitely had some conversations and around this particular book that he's a co-author of as well. So
Yeah, I mean, what is it like for you and the experiences obviously that you can bring to any of the lessons that we have at Wolf Connection to now be back inside of the park or on the edge of the park and to have these experiences firsthand? I mean, for me sitting across from you and hearing that story about see, helping Pop Landis out with the mother elk, and having these just everyday occurrences that happen. What does it draw for you that gets translated to anybody who's listening over Zoom and to any of these programs? And then when you're on site for a little while here, d- what awakens in you, I guess, is really
Yeah.
the question that maybe
Yeah.
wasn't there for the last couple of years or wherever it may be.
Right. So for the last 5 years, I would definitely say I've had these embers
Mm,
inside of me, and have been kind of producing stories from those embers in the form of the Yellowstone Wolf family tree
right.
remotely. But once I got back to Yellowstone, there was a spark,
Mm,
and it happened just by being out there. For example, I've taken a few people out to see a very famous wolf's den that she doesn't use anymore. 907, who is the matriarch of the Junction Butte Pack.
yeah.
She is the oldest known wolf in the park right now at 11 years old.
She just had a litter, didn't
Yeah,
she?
she just gave birth to her ninth straight litter of pups. Yeah, only one of the litters did not survive, but she's given birth to 9 straight litters of pups. She's been kind of the rock around, we talk at Wolf Connection about the calm leadership of being, a lead wolf in a
Right.
given pack. And she represents that. The Junction Butte Pack has had their fair share of drama that has happened over the years, and she's been kind of the rock upon which the rest of the pack members will coalesce. And she's been doing this since 2016, and she's done this all with one eye, similar to Coda, who we have at Wolf
Yeah.
Connection. She lost her left eye 7 years ago in 2017. So for the last 7 years of her steady leadership of this pack, she's done it all with one eye, and she also has a number of diseases that she carries as a female wolf in the pack, one of them being a new disease that's being discovered called toxoplasmosis gondii.
Yes.
And you might have had other people on talking about that, I think, as
Yep.
a matter of fact. And so she's a carrier of that, but she has just exemplified this calm leadership. And anyway, taking people out to this den and telling her story along the way. I've done it with my daughter and her partner, did it with one of my best friends. I think I've been out to her den about 3 times now, and it never it it's always an adventure. And just being in the space where she has been, where that wolf pack has been, being within sight of the Junction Butte Pack's current denning area as I'm talking to people about the pack, it's very inspirational, and like I said, sparks these embers inside of me for sure.
Just to talk about 907 really fast, what does it mean for, I guess, wolves in general, but I would say specifically Yellowstone, to have a wolf that is this old, still churning along and really exemplifying, like you said, the matriarchal position in these packs, to be that stable, that resilient, and to continue to make this? Because I saw a post with Kira Cassidy was explaining the same thing about having this, what do you say, ninth straight litter, right? Or
Yep.
something like that.
9 straight letter.
I
Yeah.
mean, what does that do for wolf study and wolf community and wolf storytelling to have a matriarch and a really a legendary piece that is still around for people? Can they see her fairly often in Yellowstone, or is she kind of, here and there and everywhere?
Yeah, she is seen very regularly,
Okay.
especially this time of year, where she is localized right around her den and the pups that have been born, and beginning to take them on daily excursions. So after the pups are born, the adults, and especially the mother wolf, will start leading them on little excursions. The first day it might be 10 feet from what we call the porch of the den, which is
Got
kind
it.
of that flat area that comes out of the den hole right there where the pups first emerge from the den for the first time and see the light of day. And but then it's, then the next day it's a little bit further and a little bit further. So we get to witness her in these very special moments doing what she does best, which is mothering the next generation of pups that are going to contribute to the Junction Butte pack.
Man, that's incredible. Like, just what a life. What a life you have. I mean, really, it's just, I think we all do. And when we take a step back at it and we realize just how lucky we are to be doing what we're doing and working with the animal that we are, it's just so valuable and incredible. What's something that, if people are in Gardner and they see, like, what's something you want to, is there an update? Is there something you want people to know about that maybe we haven't touched on really fast, that like you've noticed or you've seen, or working with another pack, or what is something that people maybe haven't heard about that, you can shed some light on?
Do I have anything I can shed some light on?
I'm wondering, yeah.
There's got to be something. I will say that the wolf pack, on whose territory I'm living right next to, that's very same 8 Mile pack.
Yes.
They're the largest wolf pack in the park right now.
Okay.
I think they are about 26 wolves, maybe. That number fluctuates a little bit.
Right.
It's anywhere from 21 to 26, basically. So they would, not counting the pups that have been born, represent the largest pack leading into the pup season. And almost all of those wolves, all but 4 of them, were gray-coated wolves, which is interesting.
Really?
So there's kind of a, it almost seems like we've got a redistribution of coat coloring going on with Yellowstone wolves right now, where there was kind of a predominance of the black-coated wolves.
Yes.
For the last several years. It's possible that with this, well, especially when you have one wolf pack that represents 1/5 of the population
Right.
of Yellowstone wolves, and most of those are gray wolves.
gray
That's
wolves.
obviously going to, change that dynamic as far as coat color goes. So it'll be interesting to see which way it goes, because as you know from your previous guests, there are advantages to coat colors
Right.
in different ways, especially when you're a pup first being born. And there's these interesting studies that are emerging on how wolves are specifically choosing mates of a different coat color to enhance and perhaps prolong or give better chances to their offspring when they're born, and interesting things like that.
Yeah, I've seen there's a lot of studies that are starting to come out. I want to say the park is starting to, I think there's I don't know if Dan Stoller's leading it. Somebody's leading that study about black coat versus, I think, gray coat, and why there's been this shift.
Yeah.
But man, you just have so much insight. And it's been, it's a quick convo, but it's always good to catch up with you. It's great to once again have you on site for a little bit of time, and just to really just dive deep into your brain and to hear all these wonderful stories, and just to, see them in person, to have you back, like you said, on the sanctuary, and be involved with us and the volunteers and the staff and the kids, so that people can see you. It doesn't go unnoticed. So I hope you know that. And it's really great to have you back just for a little bit of time.
Thanks, John. That's wonderful to hear. And I feel the same way. It's wonderful to be back here and be a part of, the incredible things that are being done here at Wolf Connection, and give me a chance to tell stories, which is something I always love to do. So
you're a great story. You had me before. I mean, I was just sitting here in awe with my, just staring. I'm like, oh, just give me some popcorn and I can sit and listen to Leo all day. But though, and like I was telling you before, and I'll say it while we're here before we sign off, people have just always ask about, get Leo on the podcast. And I think this is your 3rd time on. So you've been on before, and those of you that have wanted to have him on, I wanted to have him back anyway, because I know Leo was going to be in town. But listen to those first couple of episodes for sure, where you really dove deep into Yellowstone and everything. And it's just, like I said, this full circle of you coming back, not only coming back here, but being back in Yellowstone. And it's so great to see you living where you should be, and sharing the stories you have to. So
thank you, John. Thank you. It's good to be back for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. Leo Leckie, everybody. We'll have him on again, I'm sure, but it's
All
good to
right.
have you in person.
Good deal.
How's to you all out there, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.